beer, it's good for you.
Hello and welcome to the video. Within this video I'll be comparing three brewing systems that are at three very different price points, and yet in terms of output volume range they are similar. I personally own and use all of these three systems and enjoy each of them for different reasons. There is no bad choice here, as these I believe are the best choices within this market segment. Your choice is going to be based on the features that you feel that you need and then desire, plus with consideration to the end price tag. This video looks at each of these brewing systems within key areas so that you can make that informed choice. So let's get started. Here is a look at each of these systems side by side. These should be fairly obvious, but for clarity, moving left to right we have the Brewzilla 65 on the left, the Grainfather G40 in the middle, and the Brewtools 40 litre on the far right. You will note that they are rather different in body size, so here is the dimension sizing compared for each. Please do note that the metric sizing here is accurate, whereas the imperial inches are approximates. You will note that the Brewzilla 65 is the largest of these three systems, being 65 litres in total volume, whereas the G40 and the Brewtools 40 are both 46 litres in total volume. Let's now look at these grain baskets. The Brewzilla's basket is wide and tall, whereas the baskets found on both the G40 and B40 Pro are focused on just width. Naturally, grain basket size is important, as this is part of the limitation of any brewing system dictating how strong an alcohol and end beer can be for the volume. Here is a closer look inside these grain baskets and a look at my Cat 2 for the very first time. The Brewzilla has a very standard overflow pipework design, whereas the G40 manages overflow from just its basket design. The Brewtools handles overflow via its pipework. Let's now look at some numbers and how these compare, starting with grain basket maximum grain bill sizes, which are shown with both metric and imperial values. These numbers for both Grainfather and Brewzilla grain baskets are actually maximums based on how much grain they will actually fit. Grainfather advised that between 11 to 12 kilos is a good guide to an efficient maximum when it comes to the G40. Whereas the Brewzilla 65 has been found to have an uncompromised efficiency with around 13 kilos of malt that will slide as you go further towards that 16 kilo maximum mark. The Brewtools B40 Pro basket can fit more than 9 kilos of grain, but it will not be very efficient past 9 kilos. So bearing this all in mind, the Brewzilla still packs the most grain in, followed by the G40 and then the B40 Pro. This is not quite the end of the story though, as this just considers an automatic mash. You can bump your efficiency up with each of these systems if you are prepared to perform some manual stirring yourself during the mash. Let's now look at batch size. Batch size range provides flexibility, allowing the brewer to brew lower and higher volume batches, but it is important to view this alongside the maximum grain bill levels. This data, when put together, will give you a guide as to how high you'll be able to brew an alcohol with a single mash by looking at the maximum batch size alongside the maximum grain bill size. This is especially important to those that intend to brew stronger beers, so judge it for your own situation. The other consideration is how high and how low in volume would you really want to be brewing. Here you can see that the Grainfather G40 is offering the lowest volume at just 10 litres, whereas the Brewzilla is offering up to 60 litres. This may mean that either one of these is more suitable for some, but frankly the Brewtools volume range of 20 to 40 litres will also suit many too, so as such this really depends on what you are looking for yourself. Personally, when it comes to these systems, I mostly brew for one keg and really enjoy the extra power that these have compared to the smaller systems, but it is also great to know that I can brew different volumes when it suits me too. Another key area is how much heating power you have within a brewing system, so here are the details that relate to these three. Each of these three systems is equipped with the latest technology of low watt density heating elements, meaning that you are not going to have problems with wort burning or caramelization, which is common in older or budget brewing systems. The Brewzilla has the edge here on power, but naturally it is ready to accept larger volumes, so do bear this in mind. Certainly at 3.2 and 3.3 kilowatts respectively, the Brewtools and Grainfather units are certainly well powered too. It is fair to say that all three of these systems are very speedy at heating, especially when you are brewing smaller and one keg batches. Many brewers these days are gravitating towards these larger systems, even if they just brew one keg batches, due to this heating speed, which certainly makes a marked impact on your brew day length compared to a smaller system. Let's now look at the controllers of these systems, starting with the Brewtools, which is certainly the most impressive of these three. Here you have a quality snappy touchscreen that puts everything literally at your fingertips, along with Wi-Fi connectivity for updates and recipes. Part of this is integration with Brewfather, which is pretty awesome. There are various modes of use and a larger amount of options and features than you will find on other brewing systems. Whilst brewing, you can control your heating and pump by percentage power, which is certainly very precise, as well as having the ability to see the temperature of the wort you are calling to. This is without doubt the largest screen available on a homebrewing system also. The Brewtools controller is set at the bottom of the system, so as such is designed for use on a table or a worktop. The Grainfather controller is mounted higher up on the G40, and this system is designed to be used as floor standing. Whilst the Grainfather G40 controller does not have a touchscreen, it does offer colour and displays the information you need to know in an easy to read snapshot. Its menu options, whilst not being as plentiful as the Brewtools, are for many going to be plenty enough. Certainly looking at the rest of the brewing system market controller wise, this is a fair step up in its own right. The Brewzilla controller is mounted low on the system, which for most will be best positioned at ground level due to the height of the system. I do not personally mind this at all. It's quick to set up, so you will not be on your knees for more than some brief moments. The Brewzilla controller offers a pretty decent experience for a brewing system in its class, with multiple programmable mash steps that can be saved for future use. You also have the ability to calibrate temperature and set timers, but naturally there is no connectivity here. It is fair to say that the Brewzilla controller does not look like much compared to the Grainfather and Brewtools controllers, but frankly it does the job even so. We have now looked at the vitals and the factual sides around the controllers, but let's now look at what cannot be put into numbers, which is the actual experience of owning and using each of these different brewing systems. The Brewtools experience is somewhat on its own when it comes to homebrewing equipment. Its use is based around ports that have three-way valves that can be manipulated further by the use of a separate handle system that directs flow and emphasis in different parts of the brewing system. This is illustrated well by this visual guide to the handle's position, which is supplied as a sticker for the system. The Brewtools for some is seen as a great brewing system for customization and creative freedom of use, but frankly for some others it has been viewed as confusing and something that provides a real learning curve. I do personally feel that in time most will get there with it and will be very glad that they did, but I have come across brewers that found this very frustrating. No level of homebrew experience will prepare you for this, but commercial brewing certainly will, as well as job roles where valves and subsystems exist. For a detailed look at how all of this works, I would recommend a look at the Portly Gentleman's YouTube channel, who has delivered some great content for those that are interested in learning to use the Brewtools. It also has to be said that if you're not in a position where you can leave your Brewtools set up and ready to go, then the setup time of this brewing system is certainly more lengthy and involved than other brewing systems on the market. Having said all of this, personally I really enjoy the experience offered by the Brewtools. For a start, the design and quality is simply at the top of the market. Once you have this system understood, everything literally flows like a relaxing, peaceful stream. Since the Brewtools first release, like any other, this has not been a perfect journey by any means, but it has to be said that Brewtools are very effective at providing solutions to any aspect of their system that requires a little more attention to make it better. The most important part here being that there will be upgrades to bring the system up to date. Furthermore, every single component of the Brewtools system can be replaced or upgraded, meaning that this is a 100% modular system. Let's now move on to the G40 experience. Grainfather is a long-standing brand within the homebrew market, and the Grainfather experience offered by the G40 is quite simply the best Grainfather experience yet. Grainfather have built a large community of brewers based on the smart connected method of brewing that guides and assists the brewer in the process step by step. As such, the G40 is quite the opposite of a Brewtools in the sense that there really is no real learning curve because Grainfather have taken all of that heavy lifting away. The G40 is very easy to get to grips with because of this, so as such this is ideal for beginners. It is also a very easy system to use even if you take away that guided experience and brew manually with the G40, which is also an option here. Unlike the Brewtools and the Brewzilla systems, provided with the G40 is an online platform and smart app that is part of this package. This allows you to create and follow recipes shared by the community with every detail loaded into the G40's controller and smart app. I really must add that the Grainfather software has significantly improved in the years that it has been developed into something that is very easy to use and quick to understand. I have also not faced any bugs in my use of it with the Grainfather G40. This covers the whole brew, including details of how much water to add in during the mash and sparge, as well as alarms for each addition during the boil. The G40 also features a two-stage bottom filter that has already become known as very effective with high hop loads. I am yet to test this to the extent that Grainfather have with a 1 kilo hop schedule in one brew, but I will be putting some realistic but very hoppy recipes its way in the near future. Setup of the G40 is also very fast and easy with very few parts to add and swap over. This whole package makes for a very easy experience with the option to brew guided or manually. Personally, I really like this flexible experience, and it is great that Grainfather have made everything so straightforward whichever way you decide to go. This provides a very nice path for new brewers, or frankly an easy route for experienced brewers who are way too hungover to handle anything else on a Sunday morning, or who desire and value a simple brew day experience from start to finish. The G40 is also having most parts that can be easily replaced or potentially upgraded. However, Grainfather advised that to replace its heating element is certainly a skilled job that is not going to be within the reach of most users. Let's now move on to the Brewzilla. The Brewzilla 3.11 65 litre system is Kegland's latest version of what used to be branded as Robo Brew. Kegland have quite some years of experience now of providing 35 litre and 65 litre brewing systems, and have consistently improved each version and set themselves apart from the rest of the more budget friendly part of the market based on their unique design and a high level of quality for the price. Another key difference here is that unlike the lower end of the budget market, the Brewzilla is equipped with very powerful heating elements that are also low watt density, meaning that there will be no wort burning or caramelization. So as such, the Brewzilla 35 and 65 models are the best priced brewing systems on the market to have these heating features. The Brewzilla 65 has a total of 3 separate heating elements which can be separately turned on and off depending on your needs, and with 3.5 kilowatts of total heating power, it surpasses every other brewing system in the budget segment, as well as the more expensive Brewtools and Grainfather systems that it is up against in this comparison. Also included with the Brewzilla is a false bottom, and the one provided for the 65 litre model is certainly very large and effective. If you love hoppy beers and you love to brew them with large amounts of hops, then this false bottom will give you no issues with slowdown, and you will find that the Brewzilla 65's pump is notably strong. However, for the price there naturally do need to be some compromises, so as you would expect there is no connected experience offer with the Brewzilla 3.1. So as such, Brewzilla does not offer the guided experience found with Grainfather, but its process is very similar, and it is very easy to learn for beginners, but those that have brewed before will be able to very quickly transition to brewing with a Brewzilla. The setup here is also very easy, and you can be ready to brew very quickly. Kegland have also produced a range of ever-growing add-ons that will allow you to do more with a Brewzilla. This includes the ability to distill, as well as being able to extend the Brewzilla 65 by a further 24 litres, transforming the Brewzilla 65 into an 89 litre system. Upgrades like these certainly boost the flexibility, and it has to be said that Kegland are very down to earth and affordable, with pricing across their entire range of products. I really enjoy the Brewzilla experience. It is a well-built system and it heats a wide variety of batch sizes in double quick time. Sure, it is not super fancy, but then it does not really need to be to get the job done. Most importantly, the output beer that you will brew using a Brewzilla will be equal in quality to the beers that you are brewing with much more expensive competitors' systems. The vast majority of parts of a Brewzilla are potentially upgradable or replaceable, and Kegland have provided upgrade kits in the past that even include the latest versions of the controller. One area that does spell the end of days for a Brewzilla is if the heating elements fail. However, this is a very common trait among brewing systems in the market. It must be said though that it is rare at this point to hear of heating element failure with a Brewzilla. Finally, let's now look at that important area of pricing and what is included. Prices given were found at the time of creating this video online. Please check with your local homebrew store for pricing that is relevant for your area at the present time. Let's now quickly move left to right, starting with the G40, which is supplied with its own bespoke counterflow chiller. I found pricing to be around $1,500 in the US and in Europe at a price just under 1,300 euros. Let's now move over to the Brewtools pricing, which is not quite as straightforward. The B40 Pro is supplied by standard with just one 3-way valve and without a cooling solution. To take advantage of this system, it is highly recommended that you buy a starter pack that provides you with all that you need for a 4-valve setup, as well as a counterflow chiller that has a temperature sensor included. In the US, this will cost you $1,569 for the baseline system and a further $979 for the starter package, equating to $2,548. Whereas in Europe you can expect to pay €1,399 for the baseline system and a further €879 for the starter package, equating to €2,278. Starter packs are available at a lesser cost that provide fewer valves. For more details, check the Brewtools website. The Brewzilla 65L is sold complete with an immersion cooling spiral. Pricing in the US was found to be just under $700, whereas the price in Europe was around €750. So as you can now see, these brewing system options cost very different levels of money and offer very different levels of features and experiences, despite being close when it comes to what they can brew output-wise. One thing that is clear is that these systems are suitable for different types of brewers with varying levels of budget. I hope this comparison guide helps you find out which of these, if any, is suitable for your requirements and budget. If you are looking for further information on any of these 3 systems, you will find further content on my channel to assist you. Thumbnails for 3 appropriate videos are now shown on screen, but you will find more than just these on my channel. I do hope that you found this video useful, informative and interesting. If so, why not consider liking and subscribing? For further support you can join the channel's Facebook group, and if you would like to support the channel then check out the channel's merchandise store, as all profits go back into the channel. Until next time, happy brewing!